just don't know.
Yeah, I always forget to carry an extra one, but Maria's good about that.
I have an extra in my pocketbook. I put like a dozen, like a dozen. Those white ones are full, nice and flat. Those are made in the USA.
Yeah.
So they say.
Wait, I'm sorry, I was
They're actually
watching
made in
something.
Wuhan.
What?
No.
The coronavirus?
No, the mask, yeah, that's common knowledge. But in the mask, they say they're made in the USA, but they're actually made in Wuhan.
The KN85s, right?
Yeah, the ones I got.
The
white
the ones you think are
The KN95s.
No, they're supposedly made in the surgical masks. They're made in the USA with USA material. Made in the
imported
USA.
from Wuhan.
No, it doesn't say that.
Yeah, it's
With
assembled,
help from some
it's
friends.
assembled in America, but it's imported
No,
from Wuhan.
Made in the USA with USA materials.
Mm.
USA materials imported from Wuhan.
Uh-huh. That's why I bought them. They're made in the USA.
You know, I was reading a little bit about Bitcoin mining,
Yeah?
and you know, China's been the biggest Bitcoin miner in the world, right? But they're cracking down on it now in China because, you know, they were sort of overnight decided, you know, want cryptocurrency. So they're cracking down on the Bitcoin mining.
Yeah.
But interesting thing is, even in a country where they use a lot of fossil fuels and they don't care about pollution and such in China, roughly about 50% of the Bitcoin mining was done using renewable energies.
Mm. How does that work?
You know, hydroelectric, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
But that's what's likely to happen now is
I don't even know how they make that operation work.
the other countries are picking up the slack in Bitcoin mining, and most of that is going to be done using renewable energies as the energy source.
Okay.
So it's not going to be as damaging to the environment as some people said it will be.
Yeah, but I mean, I imagine it's probably not as efficient as using electricity, you know?
No, you're
Well, not obviously energy efficient, but like efficient in
Well,
the mining process.
none of those things are great sources of electricity. You can't compete with fossil fuels. You just can't. Any of the renewable energy, you just can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You don't have the abundance of.
I know it's. I mean, for me, I look at a country like Costa Rica is kind of 100% renewable. I'm like, hey, that's really nice, you know. But their infrastructure also can struggle because of it. So I know there's a long way to go, but I mean, I think the advances being made in more recent years it is encouraging. I think.
They just have a long way to go before you can say that we're eliminating fossil fuels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think if we can at least, you know, get the technology to a point where we can try to avoid using fossil fuels in most cases, then that's great. I mean, we might not be technologically advanced enough where we can go 100% renewable energy.
You can't.
Definitely not. But
The technology's not here yet.
yeah, but I mean,
I
I think if it
It
at least
rolled-
reduce the
They're
demand for
rolling
fossil.
brownouts and blackouts in California last year just because Governor Newsom decided that he wasn't going to use the natural gas powered plants. And natural gas is actually pretty clean burning.
Well, I wouldn't trust them to manage those things.
What I'm just saying is that you shut down the natural gas plants, but you don't have a replacement for them.
Yeah.
So, and in a state like California, as populous as California is, with heavy energy users, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think while it's a nice idea to go carbon neutral as soon as possible, I mean, it's going to be so long before I think, you know, this country will get to that point. I mean,
That's a nuclear fission.
No, nuclear fusion is ultimately going to be the source that gives us abundant energy.
but isn't that you know, basically prohibited, or like research is like very limited into it because what is it, not the Paris? No, that's a climate one. Is there some sort of nuclear agreement that essentially prevents it from being?
It's not that, nuclear fusion, the problem with nuclear fusion is you have to put more energy in than you get out.
Yeah.
That's really the problem. But that problem will probably be resolved in the next 20, 25 years. Once that happens, you have an almost abundant source of energy because you're talking about deuterium and tritium.
Yeah.
And so with the ocean, you have essentially an unlimited supply of protons to work with, hydrogen atoms to work with. You have almost an unlimited supply. So the idea that somehow, and relatively clean burning, because your product is, I think, helium, an isotope of helium, relatively short half-lives, that kind of stuff, So it's not like fission product. Nuclear fission is very clean. It has zero impact on carbon emissions. The only problem with nuclear fission is what do you do with the products of nuclear fission afterwards? You hold them in storage. But even now, a lot of the environmentalists who 30 years ago were opposed to nuclear fission, they're saying, well, nuclear fission isn't so bad because it doesn't do anything to the carbon footprint. It's the only abundant source of power that we have where it doesn't affect the carbon footprint. So all you need is uranium or plutonium.
So I guess then what's stopping us from looking into that as a possible?
Well, what's happened is because over the years, over the last 30 years or so, because it was so the environmental groups were so vehemently against nuclear power. They lobbied Washington so heavily to make all these excessive regulations that all the power plants, the energy companies said, we're not going to spend money building new nuclear power plants because every time we try to do it, we're spending millions and millions of dollars, and someone tries to stop it, shut it down before we're actually even in business. Oh, you have to have an environmental impact statement. This is not suitable. You could be on this geologic fissure. It could cause all kinds of problems to the environment. There's all kinds of studies, and then so pretty much the nuclear power industry, they throw their hands up and say, forget it. We'll just open up a coal power plant or a gas powered plant instead, because then people won't complain.
And the environmental activists aren't going to complain about.
Not to the same way about nuclear fission, because radiation is scarier to people than the byproducts of burning fossil fuels.
I mean, the longer term impact of continuing to burn fossil fuels could be a lot worse than
no doubt about it.
Nuclear fallout.
no.
Oh, come on, man.
Those nuclear fission plants in America, and the nuclear fission plants are surrounded by concrete bunkers, buildings. So what you see is a nuclear
of course,
plant,
they were the ones that
contained
brought this
in
force
concrete
tie.
bunkers that have walls at least 6 or 7 feet thick, maybe thicker than that. They're designed to withstand the impact of an airline crash into them.
Yeah.
The reason why Chernobyl had problems is they don't use the light water reactors like we use. They use breeder reactors, I think, but the reactors are out in the open. There was no building around them. So there was nothing to contain them. So if there was any kind of leak, it just got released into the environment. Now, the worst nuclear accident ever in a commercial nuclear power plant was 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. 99% of what was leaked stayed in the building.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and there was at the border lines, the borders of some of the territories. There were releases of maybe in the order of 100 millirem or something like that. 100 millirem is not much different than what you get from back